Wake Up Radio Network.
A rational voice in a world of conspiracy. Jim Duke perspective.
So, Darren, there's a attack on free speech, as we all know. And we've witnessed that, of course, with the getting shut down and banned off of YouTube, and the social media is crimping down on our buzzwords, on our keywords. It's funny because people that normally don't get banned for less controversial things than I do are getting banned. There's people that are just reciting scripture, or just one lady was defending animals, and she got like a strike or a ban of a post.
Really?
Yeah. So there's just no barriers at all. It's just, I kind of petitioned myself. I'm like, you shouldn't get banned. I should be banned. I'm kind of insulted that they banned them before they banned me. But, I'm offended that friends of mine that are less controversial than me are getting banned. It's kind of upsetting here.
Wow.
So, what is going on? We wonder what's out there, what's going on. There is a move of using certain activism, in order to petition a need for muzzling more of our free speech. So there's like people, well, at first it was anybody against COVID would be attacked as coming against the medical society, and therefore, even if you agreed with the CDC, if you later on the CDC changed their stance, the stuff that stood that you were reciting before is now against the CDC, and they went back and flagged us and tagged us and banned those videos off because they no longer represented what the new stance of the CDC says. And this is a stifling of our free speech. Now, a lot of people make the argument that the social media and such is a private platform. I mean, when we sign on to it, we sign at the dotted line. We don't really read any of the terms. Have you ever read the terms of any of the social media?
All 34 pages of size 2 font? No.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't either. Yeah, and in that, it calls for your blood and calls for your head severed on a stone. Did you know that?
I forbid.
No. But there are stipulations there that it says the content you post is their property. It basically says they could take or confiscate the rights of any of your media that you post on there. That's why it asks for your permission. Would you like to post from your media? And you go, yeah, of course I would. And they say, okay, great. You know the stipulations and the terms then. And the terms are basically they own it in a way. And that also means they own our speech. So they seem to think that they can restrict our free speech on their platform. And they got their great, who are these community standard people? Who is the community that I come against when I post something? I'd like to know who that community is, because everybody in my community would agree with me. But who are these community standards pledged by? Who's that community?
That's a very good question. It's the enemy of the people, of course, given this false propaganda.
But who are they? Who are they to say that that's our community? So, but they do. Now, by rights, we could let down our arms and say, okay, well, it's their platform, their field, their playground. We're only playing in it. So who are we to say anything? At the same time, they're doing it in a jurisdiction where we have rights, right? So they're doing it in a state, in a public display of a place that we're supposed to have free speech.
Exactly. That's right.
So they're kind of wrong, because if you wanted to bring a case against them, you could say they're stifling my free speech and picking and choosing and being discriminatory against me. And we should rise up against these guys and do more of that. But before we think that it's just the Democrat socialists, it's both parties. There's an article here out of, what is this magazine? Blacklisted News, okay? And this is published by John Whitehead. You've heard of him, I think, right? I think he's in all those Patriot Freedom things.
John Whitehead.
Yeah.
No, I haven't actually.
Okay. I've heard him from years ago. But anyway, he posts this article and says, politicians of both parties want to use the power of government to silence their foes. And some in the university community seek to drive it from their campuses. An entire generation of Americans is being taught that free speech should be curtailed as soon as it makes someone feel uncomfortable. And it says that the police state does not want citizens who know their rights, nor does it want us to prepare to exercise those rights. So they use these backdrops. They use attacks. They use activism. They use these violent places to come in on and police state us, and use it as an excuse. And I think it's been also stirred up by like George Soros and his group, Open Society, in order to make it more violent than it could be, than it needs to be, for an excuse to put more damper on our free speech. You know, like if we allow free speech and it offends people, well, we're going to be in trouble and cause more violence. So we need to crack down on our free speech. That's what they're saying. And it says that this article goes on and talks about how, like, you know, even in the wake of the 9/11 attacks, we expect technology to be driven, mass surveillance state, compliance in education, schools, and military empire waging war against a shadowy enemy in order to say it's for our safety and security. And then the government agents are armed and ready to lockstep anything that violates their definition of like terrorism. And now you're considered a terrorist if you basically state your opinion about Israel.
Exactly.
So
that tells you who the enemy of the people are right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they had the protests in a university in Virginia recently, staged by students and members of the community to express their opposition on the humanitarian crisis in Palestine. The local police reported state police sporting tactical gear and riot shields moved in on the demonstrators, using pepper spray and force to disperse the group and arrest the 15 or so, where for days students, faculty, and community members had sang songs, read poetry, and painted signs in protest of Israel's ongoing war in Palestine territory of Gaza. Oh my gosh. Darren, do you see this? They've resorted to singing songs and reading poetry.
How terrible.
How violent are they? Wow. Next they'll be painting signs. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, they done it. They're painting signs too, Darren. All heck is broken loose. So this is supposed to say that this constitutes the police state coming down. Now, who is the police state? Is it the local police? Are they kind of involved in this, or is this like a national security?
National or perhaps international, a world alliance of police, military.
Have you seen any of that? Any evidence of that?
Of what?
Of international.
International.
I know in the past we have, actually.
I know we look at the space agency logos, the vector logos, are almost identical. Like the Star Trek logo they use kind of. So that would also have to apply it to, other aspects, which would possibly include this as well. So.
Are you saying we're getting a Star Trek, the Enterprise is coming after us?
You're going to have Spock coming at your door. But I'm just saying there's like a world and several aspects that are of like a worldwide, conglomeration. And it could even be possibly this as well,
Well, you remember in the 90s? You remember that supposed U.S. Joint effort with NATO, and we found that UN troops were on our land, and our troops had to swear into the UN uniforms and such. Do you remember that? It was unmarked
Vaguely.
uniforms, and they,
right.
well, during the Waco, Texas thing,
Mm-hmm.
and the, other things there during the Clinton administration, and they were coming in, and it was a joint task. They had the multi-jurisdictional task force, MJTF, and
I wasn't following it at the time, but
oh yeah, I was. So this was in the 90s. So they were doing a joint effort there, and since they've gotten kind of covert about it. But because we haven't seen anything like that. They were doing, matter of fact, in Wallkill, New York, just south of us there, and they had that military exercise where the NATO troops, the UN troops, or whatever they were, practiced skydiving, and they practiced parachuting down in a town, to close down a town, to cease it as a drill, to see how they can comply with it and how the people would react to it. It was reported. I remember it was reported on the 700 Club at the time, believe it or not. And I was actually involved in some meetings at the time where I saw them doing this. And there was a lot of reports of certain things like this going on. So they were practicing. But then it became kind of covert. You don't really see it much anymore. But like you said, you've picked out some of the similarities of logos kind of merging to imply that there is some kind of task force at play, maybe.
correct.
So we, what is going on? Or have we finally given into the UN? Is this Britain? Is this, speaking of Britain, it talks about how this article talks about how there was a time when this country, back where British was running things, that you spoke your mind, you ticked off the wrong people, and you'd find yourself in jail for offending the king. And the Constitution here in the United States have drafted a, Bill of Rights and the First Amendment to protect our free speech so we don't go to jail for offending the king. Well, guess what? We're back to offending the king. But this time the king isn't a monarchy. It's the government elite and their agenda. The First Amendment was to protect the minority against the majority, and what they meant by the minority is, those of us who are the people. But the principles are still there, and that's what's happening. Is we're seeing a reversion back to kind of like a British royal mindset where the people could come against the state and be penalized. And this is just certain examples. There's a lot of other things going on about this too. And when you got the United States legislation trying to make it a crime to speak against anything that you don't like that's against the official narrative of the government.
Yep.
They want to make, they're calling us dissidents. We're the terrorists. We're dissidents if you come against the government. But we were told that as the Constitution governed our livelihood here and protected our rights, that we could get together and redress the government, because the government were supposed to be run by us according to our desires, not an elite oligarchy. But that soon has gone away, since I think we've let them chip away at our rights and chip away at our we let our guard down, and now we let them redefine what the Constitution means. Protection of speech. Now they're saying, no, it's protecting offensive speech. Oh, okay. So now you're protecting, a woman in a school, a teacher in a school refused to redefine a woman, define a student who claimed that that student wanted to be called something other than what their biological makeup was, and she refused to call the person by a false identity, and she got in trouble. But I think she won. I think she won the case.
I hope so.
I think she won the case. Do you remember? And they post as an example. Do you remember the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood?
Yes.
Do you remember the song he used to sing? If you're a boy, you will stay a boy, and if you're a girl, you are a girl. He would get arrested today.
Oh, forget about it. Yep. Predictive programming.
Mr. Rogers, all this time was a terrorist, according to how they want to demonize us today.
Well, the written word of God, the Bible says that there will be a day when they call evil good and good evil. Yeah. We're seeing it come to pass. Yep. Every word of God proves true.
We're here.
Amen.
We're here. And now there's an article about exposing the CIA's effort to cease control of social media. As we have mentioned, that the CIA and all them help fund the social media anyway, and they do experiments on it. FBI years ago, about 2012, were cited for doing extreme algorithm tests. They were stealing profiles, and they were tampering with our Facebook posts and posting like hateful things to check our reaction. And they claim they were only doing it for a short time. But a lot of people noticed there was people like all of a sudden out of the word were criticizing them, stirring up trouble, things like that. And it was a CIA experiment or FBI experiment. They were trying to test our reaction to things. And they do these little algorithms to test us, to see how we're going to react when they pull the wool over our eyes, when they take away our rights and things like that. It says in this article that while this is an article from Zero Hedge, and it says the CIA is strictly prohibited from spying on or running clandestine operations against American citizens. But a new Twitter file reveals that members of the intel agency, the members of the CIA and such, were involved in efforts to take over the content of management systems within the social media. And you know how they get around this? They say, oh, no, we're not spying on you, but all the algorithms are spying on us. And then they're just basically taking control of the third-party agencies.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
You notice that everybody thinks that they're purists and that they're not going to contribute to AI. But notice we're all on the AI.
Oh, forget it. Unless you're off-grid living in the Canadian Rockies with
you're
nothing.
on Skype.
Yeah?
Skype is an AI.
Of course
Skype
it is.
has determined, they give you ads according to your tastes and things, and they talk to me and tell me that I need an update, and all these things are programmable, but they're AIs running the gamut of these things. I got an AI thing the other day. Oh, this was creepy, Darren. I refrained from using Siri and all this stuff for the longest time, but I found it convenient. I'm sorry to say, you can't get away. You can't. For those purists out there, you have a cell phone, you're using AI. You use a map, you're using AI. You use Facebook, you're using AI. It's no way around it unless you just stop using everything. So I use Siri because I drive, during the day, and I can't reach my phone. I'm not supposed to touch my phone. I can't read my texts. So I can talk to the phone and say, read my texts. And it will actually recite my texts while I'm driving. which is pretty
Wow.
convenient. Now, that doesn't freak me out because I know voice to text works the same way Google actually keeps on file. Do you know anybody that uses Google, the Google Speak there? When you speak into your phone to text, it saves it. It's on a data file, not just for Google, but for you. You can go into your account and actually get the transcripts of everything you recited in your phone, unless you turn it off.
Wow.
And some people turn it off because they say, I don't want to be monitored. Well, no, you're only turning it off for yourself. You're not turning it off for them. They still do it. You're not, stop my location. I don't want them to know where I am. No, that's only so your phone doesn't immediately notify you, but the Google knows where you are. And
absolutely.
The agencies do. So anyway.
Just like if you're in your car and you talk about something and then you go on your computer at your house and you find the ad of what you were talking about.
Yes. Exactly. Well, Darren, this was kind of freaky. I spoke into my phone and I said, read my text. And my son sent me a picture. Now, sometimes it'll say so-and-so sent you a meme or something. This said, your son sent you a picture of a baseball game with a few people standing in front and the diamond behind it. It described the freaking picture to me.
Wow. Oh.
They're getting pretty crafty, aren't they?
I'll say.
So,
scary.
So if they can, if that device can read it, you could be sure the CIA can read it. Now, what would the CIA be doing with a picture of a baseball game? I don't think nothing. I don't think they're interested in what these people are doing. I don't think they're interested that I got a picture of a baseball game. But what they are interested is the algorithms and the connections that I make with this information that I have. And they use these things to help control me to try to stifle my actions. So they'll use distractions. And I'm sure they're using third party to send me distractions so I don't keep whistleblowing their tactics or whatever. All they have to do is send distractions to me. But
of course.
But we have proof of this stuff. And now with the TikTok thing, there's an article that says TikTok is not to protect Americans. It's a tactic directly from China's playbook. What do you think about that? Some people think that they're trying to tell us that China is using it to spy on us. But here's the problem I have with that. We don't want China to spy on us, Darren. We're going to leave that for the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the DEA, the Homeland Security, right? We'll leave it for them. We don't want China spying on us. We got 15 other agencies already doing it.
Oh, really?
We're not private.
Of course not. Nothing is. It's ridiculous.
So they're trying to get us scared of TikTok. Wait a minute. We got foreign entities in the Facebook crew. We got more nefarious characters spying on us from the CIA than we do from China. I'm more worried about that. So other people are saying, of course, TikTok's being banned because it goes against the narrative. People are freely able to express their freedoms, their free speech, and they don't want that. Of course they don't. People are getting a lot of stuff from TikTok lately. I'm on it, but I don't really know how to use it. I do this show. I have teasers that I put on this show on TikTok, Jim Duke Perspective at TikTok. If you go there, you'll notice I don't really interact. I don't really know how. I've got people that friend me. I don't even know really how to do that. Every time I turn it on or open it up, I get these weird videos, and it's like just blazing at my face. You get these loud videos. I didn't subscribe to them. I don't know who they are. I want to control it. I don't want to be controlled, but I have to quickly get off it so I can post something. And I just post a quick video pointing you to the latest edition that I may have done. But all these Facebook, Twitter, all these things work hand in hand with the FBI, verifying authenticity of reports and things like that, and they don't like TikTok because it doesn't do the same thing. Now, I want to mention another story about the rise. Hold on a second. Let me do something here. The rise of biometrics. Have you noticed lately that a lot of the apps are asking you to do two-factor authorizations?
I've encountered that before a couple times, yeah.
Two-step authorizations, because they said for your safety, right? It's for your safety. We have two-step verifications to access your account for your authorization. What's happening is companies are soliciting your ID. And the most direct way they're doing it is they're using intrusive facial recognition and biometric IDs, thumbprints for your phone, or they're doing other means of biometric verifications, eye scans and things like that. But at the meantime, we're given two-step verifications. Now, I'm finding two-step verifications are slow. What happens is you go on, you put your password in, as it says, you have a two-step verification. Is this email correct? We're going to send you an email. And then you got to go to your email. Then you got to enter the code. Then you got to go back and forth, right? Just to open up your app.
Mm-hmm.
And they say it's for your convenience of security. But what we're being told is that it's not what we think. Of course, it's never what we think. There's a focus on collecting our biometrics in the third-party agencies, in the third-party companies. They're scanning everything they can, facial recognitions, everything, because they're building up their database. But what they're doing is they're making the two-step verification very cumbersome. Why are they doing that? They're making it harder or more. They're making it more clumsy and slow for a two-step verification, making you wait for entry and making it more inconvenient so that you'll opt for a better method as they increase AI technology. So they're basically offering you two-step for your security, and then they're showing you how slow it is and how intrusive it is, and then they're offering you a better way. Because I go on two-step and it says, would you like a faster way? You can have your face scanned and go immediately in.
It's Hegelian dialectic, isn't it?
Yes, that's what they do. They cause the problem, and then they come up with a reaction, and then they have a solution that they're leading us to. So, yeah, you can't avoid AI, but they're trying to capture more of our data. So this is what we got to look out for. This intrusiveness. Like I said, there's not much you can do about it. It's pretty much you almost can't pay your bills anymore if you don't have a computer. So you're forced to go on the computer. What are you going to do? Not pay your bills? Not go on the computer? And then you go by. You got to go visit them, but then they won't accept your money anymore. They do everything digitally.
I know it. Yep.
Now there's an article that is this Nokia CEO Pekka Lundmark during an interview at the World Economic Forum, talking about 6G. Of course, we're going to be into 6G. He says what they're talking about is a most common interface that is actually building smartphone technology that will be built directly into our bodies. That's what they're leaning towards.
That's surprising,
Now they're just talking about it. They didn't do it yet, but they're just because they talk about it, just because they claim it, just because it's news, it's articles, doesn't mean we have to jump off cliffs, folks. Keep your head. They didn't do it yet necessarily. Oh yeah, what they do now, what they tell us now, they've already done 10 years ago, 50 years ago. I know, I understand that, but it's going to come a long way before we'll accept this Well, it won't be too long because all they do is do the Hegelian dialectic and force us into microchipping ourselves, But we're getting close to that now. We were fearful of the RFID chip years ago. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that's nothing. That's archaic compared to this stuff. People thought back then that we got to be careful of the smart chip, the RFID. They're going to implant it. No, they don't even need to implant it anymore. The nanoparticles take care of that.
Wow.
It's already running through our bodies. And then Elon Musk's Neuralink, described as an ultra-high bandwidth brain machine interface with humans into computers. Oh, yeah.
Damn.
You don't have to have electrodes anymore. You don't have to have wires anymore. You don't have to have the digital chip or anything anymore. They're doing such advancements, they could pretty much tap into our biometrics or DNA or I don't know. I mean, this sounds science fiction, and I probably don't have the science, but I'm just saying that sounds potential.
Yeah, as long as they have the brain waves, that's all they need.
Yeah, and with the talk that the vaccines were sending in nanoparticles to be able to be readable, you got to wonder what they're up to. Is this stuff happening? I don't know. Is it possible? Well, pretty much anything you dream up can be possible. We could sit there and dream up a lot of scenarios, but are they doing this? Well, they are experimenting with interface biometrics. They are experimenting with these waves, these Neuralink and everything else. So, yeah, there is proof that they're advancing in technology towards this stuff. So, these are the things that I guess we can look forward to. I don't know.
Geez, thanks for the good news here, Jim.
I know. I don't have any better news.
Very uplifting.
Yes, you're welcome. All right. We'll end there for this episode, and my website is jimdukeperspective.com. You can find the podcast on any of your favorite apps or players, and please subscribe to us and share this stuff. And keep it going. The more you share, the more you subscribe, the better publicity that we have, viewing possibilities we have for people to see us and know that we're out there and that we can continue to warn them of this information. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.